For millennia, people have pondered the mysteries of the universe. Are we alone, or is there something else out there? There have been countless efforts by various groups to search the skies for intelligent life. Amateur footage, news reports, sci-fi original movies, and even massive radio receivers aimed up at the sky, ready to receive messages from space. But ultimately, all efforts have been unsuccessful thus far. Maybe we've just been looking in the wrong places. Should we really be looking skywards for the answers? Or could the answers be right in front of our noses? Dwelling deep within the surface of the Earth, I believe that it's entirely possible that another form of intelligent life exists living here on Earth unknown to us. The reptoid. After reading this, hearing this, that I'm saying to you, I hope that you too will also believe. I have looked over the findings of various researchers in the field of reptoid research. I have done extensive investigation on my own to construct this expose. I ask that you listen to this with an open mind and challenge some of the commonly held beliefs of society. My views and the views of other researchers in this field can be considered very controversial and at times conflicting. I will do my best to convince you that reptoids exist. These sentient reptilian creatures are often referred to as lizard men, the green menace, or kobolds. Not only do they exist, but they are planning to take over our world, and they are already well on their way to doing so, infiltrating even the highest ranks of our government. I hope you will take what I'm saying seriously, and not dismiss me as another crackpot conspiracy theorist, as so many other brilliant men in my field have been. First off, in order to understand what a reptoid is, we must understand its origins, so I'll offer you an abbreviated history of the reptoid. According to the theory of evolution, humans evolved from apes. But isn't it possible that other creatures besides apes could have evolved into sentient creatures, such as reptiles? If this is the case, then it's possible that at one point humans and reptoids could have coexisted. So what happened? Why have they seemingly disappeared? The answer is quite obvious. During the prehistoric age, the climate was such that the cold-blooded reptoids could have lived side by side with humans. But with the coming of the Ice Age, the reptoids, being cold-blooded, were forced to move underground towards the warmth of the Earth's core. The humans, who had no written language, could have simply forgotten about the reptoids, eventually disregarding them as an old legend. There are many alternative hypotheses regarding the origin of reptoids, but I find this one to be the most plausible. So exactly what does a reptoid look like? The most common form of reptoid stands upright, 6 to 7 feet tall. Their body is covered in billions of tiny scales. They have large black almond-shaped eyes and long tails. Their skin colors range from gray to green to yellow, perhaps leading to some kind of reptoid racism or segregation based on skin color. But this is mere conjecture. This is the image most commonly associated with the reptoid and represents the vast majority of the reptilian population. There is another kind of reptoid. This one stands taller than the common reptoid, and by at least a foot in general, and has wings. I tend to disagree with the majority of reptoid researchers about this species. The commonly held belief is that these winged reptoids serve as the leaders in reptoid society. But I tend to believe that because of their wings, they served as scouts and emissaries, keeping tabs on the outside world. There are countless amounts of evidence to support this claim. Sightings of dragons, which could be attributed to winged reptoids, have been reported throughout the world during the Middle Ages. Obviously, modern reptoids have to be more cautious, so it's possible that these winged reptoids have abandoned their roles as scouts and now serve as leaders in the reptoid community. The third and most unusual form of reptoid is the reptilian gray hybrid. They are a result of the crossbreeding of reptoids and the gray aliens from beyond our galaxy. These creatures tend to be shorter than the common reptoid, with small bodies, larger heads, smoother skin, and smaller or no tails at all. There are many different theories on how reptoids and grays could have come to coexist. I will discuss these possibilities later. I really don't have a lot of time to do this. But how could an elaborate advanced civilization exist under the surface of the Earth without our knowledge? Surely there must be a link between the surface world and the underground world of the reptoids. This is located in Antarctica. Reptoid researcher John Rhodes says that Antarctica is the first landmass in history that all nations have anonymously agreed to keep neutral and free of claimed ownership. This is an obvious example of pro-reptoid legislation put in place by the government, reptilian shape-shifting plants in order to hide the truth. Area 51 is just a front, a mere red herring to distract the public from the real threat. The place that we should really be searching is Alaska. The reptoids, being the sentient, industrious creatures they are, have undoubtedly constructed massive cities beneath the earth. Their capital is believed to be located deep within the surface of Antarctica, allowing for the close regulation of those traveling to and from the surface world. Nobody knows how much of the inner earth is filled with these reptilian cities. For all we know, the entire inner earth could be covered with reptilian cities, too far within the surface of the earth to be heard or leave any evidence. Reptilians living under the surface of the earth can conceivably outnumber the humans living on the surface. In the beginning of my paper, I alluded to the fact that reptilians have infiltrated our government as part of their master plan to rule society. As unusual as they look, it's hard to imagine that a reptoid could infiltrate our government unnoticed. But there's a logical answer to this. Even undeveloped reptilians such as chameleons have the ability to change colors. Reptoids, over possibly millions of years of evolution, have refined this ability to a point where they can actually shapeshift, appearing to the naked eye to be completely human. This ability to shapeshift could be invaluable to the Greys. The ability to shapeshift could be a clue to the mystery of the reptilian-gray hybrids. The ability to shapeshift would be invaluable to the Greys in their conjoined effort with the reptilians to slowly conquer Earth, and this could be the reasoning behind the breeding program. There has always been a high concentration of UFO sightings in and around Antarctica, which could be attributed to this alliance. There have been many reports of reptoids having sex with humans, both male and female, either by force or voluntarily. This is most likely a plot by the reptilians to make more effective human shapeshifters to infiltrate our government. An expert in the field of reptoid research, such as myself, would be able to spot the telltale signs of a reptilian shapeshifter. I can say without a doubt that none of the girls that I've dated have been reptilian shapeshifters, although the prospect of dating a reptilian isn't necessarily entirely unappealing. Upon the scrutiny of intimate examination, I have discovered them to be quite human. But a reptilian-human hybrid shapeshifter would be much harder to detect, perhaps even beyond my expertise. I can only hope that I haven't been exposed to such a creature so far. The last thing I want is my DNA stolen and used to further the reptilian agenda of world domination. A mind such as mine would be a powerful weapon against humanity. Right here I have an actual account from a victim of reptoid rape. Pamela's reptoid had luminous amber-colored eyes like a cat's and skin that was charcoal, green and gray in color. His massive chest sported a breastplate which is much like those worn by Roman soldiers. He had sharp claws on his 4 fingers. When he would appear in the room, the air would thicken, Pam buzzing and clicking. In seconds, she found it difficult to breathe. Her chest would feel as if it were crushed. She was paralyzed and immobilized, and the reptoid would literally flip her on her stomach, and then would proceed with a type of tantric sex intercourse that would leave her completely exhausted. She never feared him. She sensed he was extremely powerful and very aggressive, as if a member of a warrior caste. She even felt protected by him. She could not smell the reptoid. Greys were different. She could smell them. They had the smell of decaying bodies. Putrid. The reptilian plan for takeover is not a recent phenomenon. Many sources in the field of reptoid research claim that during the 1940s, Adolf Hitler was in league with reptoids. He believed that during his military campaign, the reptoids would rise up and aid him in his efforts. This is really the first obvious example of an actively aggressive plot by the reptoids to take over the world. The Nazis were extremely secretive, and there is no clear documentation on how many Nazi generals were actually reptilian shapeshifters. I myself believe that Hitler was himself a renegade reptoid, who was tired of the slow, passive takeover and wanted to speed things up. He started a campaign on the surface world with his followers to take over through military force. He expected that more reptilians would aid him as he began his campaign. Fortunately for the human race, the reptoid leadership of the underground reptilian government did not approve of this kind of extreme military action and sent reptoid covert ops to the surface to retrieve Hitler and return him to the underground world to be put before a military tribunal and imprisoned or executed. This is the most likely scenario, I believe. More importantly, the vast majority of our own U.S. government is now controlled by the reptoids. According to reptoid researchers at the Watcher Files, George Bush Sr. and Jr. are both reptilian shapeshifters, along with Richard Cheney, Al Gore, and Colin Powell. It's not just the people in the highest ranks. At least 6 people in President Bush's cabinet, and 4 of his advisors are reptilians, alien-controlled, or reptilian-alien influenced, along with 37 senators in the 107th Congress, and at least 61 of the members of the House of Representatives, including Gary Condit, who had his human wife murdered after he learned the truth about him, and his secret reptilian plot for world domination, along with the actual reptilians and aliens. Many human officials have fallen away from the side and joined the ranks of the reptoids through ancient blood rituals and cult sacrifices. The most powerful, but certainly not the only, organization of reptilian human supporters is known as the Knights of the Templar, or the Masonic, and is thinly veiled as a Christian organization. With this kind of power in our government, the reptoids hold a lot of political power in the world. Throughout the 1990s and into the early years of the millennium, the main headquarters for reptilian world domination operations on the surface world was located in New York City, in the World Trade Center. It's unclear whether the various bombings attempt and its eventual destruction of the building on September 11th can be attributed to anti-reptilian groups, although this is very likely. There's a lot of conflicting theories about this. One theory is that Osama bin Laden discovered the plot of the reptoids, and knowing that open acknowledgement of the reptilian plot would be dismissed by his followers, he created an elaborate lie to conceal his motive as an attack based on religious grounds. This, while plausible, isn't the theory I agree with. Osama bin Laden most likely didn't just stumble upon this information. I believe that Osama bin Laden is actually a reptilian rebel opposed to the takeover of the surface world. I suspect that the entire bin Laden family are high-ranking reptoids, but their motives seem very unclear at the moment. It's not just in America. Queen Elizabeth and her 4 sons, including Prince Charles and Prince Andrew, were all reptoids. Who knows how many other countries are still under human control? Maybe none of them at all. Researchers have only scratched the tip of the iceberg. The reptoids might have already won their secret war against us, without any of us even knowing. The human race will never know for sure until the reptoid rapture, which was mentioned in the Bible, which was also written by reptoids. When all of the humans who are really reptilian shapeshifters disappear and reveal themselves to be reptoids. At this point, the human race's military will be completely reptilian controlled, and the human race will most likely be forced into enslavement or exterminated completely. The reptilians must be stopped. Lock your doors. Board up your windows. The end is near. You can't trust anyone. Your friends... Lock your doors. Board up your windows. The end is near. You cannot trust anyone. Your friends, your family, they could all be reptoids. The only way the human race can stop the reptilians is by exposing their plot. Copy this paper and distribute it to everyone you possibly can. Print copies and leave them anywhere. Hand them out to everyone you know. Do whatever you can to spread the truth before it's too late. This will undoubtedly put my your life in danger. But it's far better to die knowing the truth than to live in ignorance. Band together with your human friends and start a reptilian resistance group. There's strength in numbers, and you will need to be well armed to defeat the reptilian death squads. Remember, these reptilian death squads are all composed of reptilian shapeshifters and posing as city workers or Jehovah's Witnesses. Most of the work in the world field of reptoid research has been widely discredited. This is because of the vast political power of the reptoids hold in the world. If any researcher gets too close to the truth, the reptilian hierarchy sends assassins in to kill them and replace them with reptilian shapeshifters who discredit their work. It is likely that I will become a victim of this reptilian assassins after I begin to widely distribute this tape. I suspect some of the people who are very close to me, or should I say, who were very close to me, have already been killed and replaced by reptilian shapeshifters to monitor my actions. It is only a matter of time before they discover my plan to expose them. If this paper is edited in any way before its initial release, or I personally discredit it, don't believe anything I say. It won't be me talking. It'll be the reptilian who killed me and replaced me with a reptilian shapeshifter. If my research can somehow help save the human race, my death shall not be in vain. I can only hope that You can only trust that I'm still human while I write this paper, while I tell you this. God help us all. Oh, hi. This is Adam Zavanovich for the show. That video, that was just, a little funny little skit we did, because everybody knows that the government isn't controlled by reptoids. It's just a joke. This is all just a joke. I mean, come on, you don't really believe in reptoids? That's just silly.